Hi everyone. I get the privilege of introducing a couple people from MMM. If you don't know anything about MMM, you're in for a treat. One thing I really like about MMM is they've got this motto. It's called "Serve those who serve," and if you've ever worked with them in anything, they do an amazing job of that. The first couple that I get to introduce is, you've probably heard of them heaps, Roy and Rachel. They're a young couple. They've been with MM for maybe 4 or 5 years, and they've been over in Fiji. And we asked them a question: what made them want to go into the mission field?
Hello, I'm Roy, and this is Rachel, and we are NZCMS mission partners serving with MMM in Fiji. And we've been asked, how did we decide to head out into the mission field? And for me, that is just a response of obedience to all the things that God had been speaking to me over a long period of time.
I think it's all not one big decision that we decided to step out into the mission field. It wasn't like one day we were like, oh, let's go do this. It was more like a journey of just being obedient in little steps along the way. That was over a long period of time. Like we went on one short-term mission and then we went back to another. And I know that some of you guys are already doing that. So who knows where your future may lead. But also we just knew that the skills and passion that we had could make more impact in Fiji than it could make in New Zealand. So we wanted to be where we could use our strengths in a better way.
And the opposite of obedience is disobedience. And when Jonah chose that path, it didn't end up well, and we didn't want to come to Fiji in a whale, so we chose to be obedient. What about you? What can you be obedient in with God today?
Second bloke is Steven. You can come on up. The big dog of MMM. You may not know him. He is pretty fresh to the job, but he's just come here to challenge us, just like Roy and Rachel did. What's our obedience, and share more about MMM.
Freshly minted. Sounds working all right? Happy? All right, great. All kudos to Richard down there, who's working with new software today and doing a great job getting it all going for you guys. And as an ex-sound guy, I can appreciate, and audio-visual guy, I can appreciate that. So well done, Richard. So I'm the new minted director for MMM, and we're based in Parongia. So I don't know how many of you guys know where Parongia is. Got a few people there know where it is. Well, you know where Te Awamutu is, right? Hamilton, Te Awamutu, Parongia is sort of west of there, at the foot of the mountain. Now, I'm just going to see, can I make my slides go left or right? All right. So, good morning. I want to extend a big thank you for all your support, church, because I've heard about Morrinsville Baptist before even coming here on more than a few occasions with MMM. So, you know, we've heard about you guys, and so it's a pleasure to be here and to talk this morning. Especially the work that's obviously been happening in Fiji, and so yes, I hear of you asking, what does MMM actually do? How is it funded, and what exactly does the Triple M stand for? Well, firstly, MMM is an acronym for Mobile Mission Maintenance, so I think Howard has already said that this morning, which is good, because a lot of people ask that question, especially when we do festivals. I find people go, what does MMM stand for? But they used to be called Mobile Mission Maintenance, and then it was changed to MMM some time ago. So secondly, what does MMM actually do? At its heart, the organisation's central mission is empowering those engaged in Christian ministry. And in doing so, this effectively enhances the spread of the gospel of Jesus Christ through the practical ministry of building both people and facilities. Put simply, MMM is a practical hands and feet ministry focused on constructing, renovating and maintaining buildings for a wide range of Christian organisations. For example, camps, churches, church halls, Bible training centres, schools, ministries, retreats, mission organisations and the like. The work is carried out by our team of tradies that work with a host organisation to coordinate a team of volunteers to take on and complete the projects, while also bringing a spiritual encouragement to the host organisation. by daily practical morning tea devotion and prayer. So there's a regular pause every day for that. We want to, and in that process, we want to hold up the host organisations' needs and requirements in prayer. So we pray with them for their needs and also for MMM and the needs of MMM. In terms of geographical work, MMM's mobile teams will take on projects all over NZ, and in addition to overseas projects mainly focused in the South Pacific, e.g. Fiji, Tonga and Samoa. Recipients of MMM work have said, wow, we really appreciate what you've done, it makes such a difference. We can now get on with the work that the Lord has called us to do instead of being tied up trying to rectify messy building issues. This sort of feedback is a blessing to us and confirmation of the work of the ministry. It is such a privilege to be part of God's story in that way. And of course, the ethos of MMM is serving those who serve. So I'm just going to flick through a few building project slides. Hopefully we go the right way. If you might recognise that building. So basically that's a bit hard for me to read from this distance, but you guys can read the scripture there. I think if the Lord builds, if it's just the one, I'm going to read it from here. Unless the Lord builds a house, they who built it labour in vain. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So yes, our work has to be in concert with the Lord's will for what we're doing. Otherwise, it is a waste of our time. So here, this is the Glory Vale Leavers Trust in Timaru. So you meet some interesting organisations with MMM. So these guys take the people from Glory Vale and help for those people that make that exit and transition back into normal New Zealand life. And it is a big thing for them because everything's basically lost in that transition. They have to start again. So that was one of the jobs we did last year in Timaru. And you can see it was a full build of buildings. St Andrew's Presbyterian Church in New Plymouth. So that was a interior redo. And look at that, Greymouth Baptist Church. Looks kind of familiar. So that was a complete redo of the exterior. So it's good to know that we work in Baptist churches. Nothing here needs doing, though. This is pretty good. And this is the Highland Home Christian Camp in Palmerston North, so exterior work again. I don't know if any of you have been there, but it's a pretty extensive sort of setup. Vertical Horizons Christian Camp, which is down in Inglewood, and down out of Christchurch. That was a complete exterior strip and rebuild that the guys carried out. Yeah, so Hope Rising Farm in Ngātawakia. This was a build of two new units to house the office staff and also to build a facility for students to sit in and do briefings. So that's a bit of a montage. You'll see my ugly mug in there somewhere, here and there. But basically that was a 3-month project. And then off to Tonga. And so this was all, I think, 2024. Exterior work. And then finally we come to Fiji. Now I don't know if any of you worked on Pastor Malaki's house over there, but that was the team. And another I think, church refit. So we're obviously a people ministry. This is the team that currently is in play. We've actually lost 2 members out of this team due to sickness. Wayne and Vanessa were full-timers, and unfortunately Wayne's done his back. And then the other couple have, unfortunately, Marty has contracted MND, so motor neuron disease, which is a game ender for him, unfortunately, unless the Lord heals him. So we continue to pray for Marty. But we are looking for 2 full-time replacements, really. That's... God has that under control and in his timing. It's funny, we didn't have people to do one project earlier, well, actually probably 2 months ago, and we thought, well, should we can this? But we prayed about it and thought, no, we won't canvass. We think the Lord wants to get this job done in Featherston. And so we put our spiritual antennas up, and by chance or by design, we bumped into some people at a conference who happened to be from Carterton, who had the right skill sets to do that work, and they had a break in their workload where they could stop and go and do this exterior work or interior work for the Featherston church. God organised the people at the right time, and that happened. So we see the Lord working for our volunteers who just come for a short-term period, so just a week or two, and that might be all they do for a year. But they turn up at the right time, they put a good effort in, and then they get back on to whatever the Lord has got them for. This is Chris and Jen. Chris is actually on the board. They did a year of a dedicated volunteering for MMM, I think the year, so 2023. They're from Dunedin, and they took their whole family on the road with a caravan and just did project after project after project. So, and had a lot of fun doing it. But they heard the call of the Lord and they responded. I guarantee you it was not comfortable sometimes with three, young kids. So by this, all men, will know that you are my disciples when you love one another. And that one I think, sums up really well for people responding to the call of God, and they want to love on other people through the work of their hands in a practical way. So in 2024, we delivered back close to 30,000 hours of volunteer hours back into the church. Around more than 2/3 of that was actually working hours, because we count some administration hours in there as well. And you can see we almost had 200 unique volunteers over those projects, and we did over 45 projects across New Zealand and Fiji. And we have some certain number of farmers that like to raise cattle for us, which is why there's a picture of a bull on the end there. Bit of a misnomer. So there's 16, I think, farmers. Is it 16? 16 farmers that actually raise cattle, and that money that from fattening those animals or bringing those animals on is then all put back into overseas missions. So there's going to be some brochures being handed out about that. And we do this, obviously, the work via mobile teams and the caravans you can see there. And on top of that, we are also a spiritual ministry where we are actually praying alongside teams on the work site and for the organisation, as previously mentioned. We also have an internship, so we take on at least 1 or 2 guys a year where we put them through the first part of their trade with BCITO or one of those organisations that they're registered with, and we put them with a Christian builder for 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week they come and volunteer with us, and then they also spend 2-week blocks a year where we send them either on a full-time mission overseas to Fiji, for example, for a build over there with Roy and Rachel, and then in between we also do some spiritual training as well with them. So we'll send them off to Cape and Ray for a week and make sure they also do their BCITO work, because apprentices can be like, yeah. But so how can you actually get involved? So up there is basically the ways you can get involved. So we can have you just come and volunteer on a project, in which case there's a sign-up sheet outside that you can just sign up for. Or alternatively, you can join one of our prayer teams and pray for the work of MMM and also the projects that MMM is involved with. So we send out a monthly list of prayer items, and there is also a few organised prayer groups for MMM. You can raise cattle for MMM. If you've got a farm, or somebody who's got a farm and they can run a couple of beefies around for us, then that's another way you can get involved. Once again, you can sign up outside. Or you can just sign up for our magazine. You want to know more about MMM and you want to know what we get up to, we do a quarterly magazine, which is copies of them are out there on the table, and you can also sign up for that. So you can basically get a regular magazine posted out to you or via email. Or you can become a regular financial giver if that's what the Lord is speaking to you about. So those are the ways you can get involved. Choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's the scripture that I got. We serve the Lord according to His will, not our will. So it's important to hear what the Lord is saying to you and to respond accordingly. Not everyone's cup of tea is MMM, but if you're a practical person and don't feel like you're called to evangelise or move in some of the other gifts, then MMM's a great way to have an impact as you help other organisations have an impact. So as to who can be involved, well, anyone can serve with MMM. You can be an accountant, you can be a farmer, or you can be a keen DIYer. You don't even need to be full-time. If you don't have many skills, we can teach you. You just need to have a willing heart and a desire to learn, and in doing so, you can use the work of your hands to bless others as they serve the Lord. If you're feeling like this is something that resonates with you and the Lord is putting it on your heart to get involved and support in some way, or you simply would like more information, I'll be out the back of the church. You can come and grab me and we'll have a conversation about it, or you can just sign up. I'd like to conclude by finishing with a couple of Bible verses that spring to mind about making a decision to take that first courageous step out of the proverbial boat and into the work the Lord has for you. And I really did have that picture of Peter when he stepped out of the boat towards Jesus. And that's an amazing metaphor, for us in our time, where we can sometimes be in our place of settledness and comfortable living in our daily routines, and then you feel that the Lord is tapping on you saying, what about that? That's that still voice that can have a pot shot at you every so often. If you hear it and respond, it can be uncomfortable, and that first step is always the hardest. So I want to encourage you to take the step into what the Lord has for you, whether that be MMM or something else. But I think the Lord is mobilising His church and wanting people to be involved. There's lots of amazing ministries and lots of ways to outwork your gifting and your calling. So there's heaps of opportunity out there. So the verses I was thinking was Proverbs 16:3, commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. And Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make straight your paths. So thank you for your time and attention. And that's it.